3 ways, in my opinion, to save the Republic.
Though I know I should be wary, still I venture someplace scary. Ghostly haunting, I turn loose. Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
Number 1, news corrections. Because we all know, everybody that's engaging in any form of journalism, getting information to the people en masse, if they make a mistake, they totally correct it immediately. Now, very often, it seems historically, we'd see this, I don't know, on page 6 after you had a front headline, or sometime at a lower viewership type of thing. My big thing is, if we're going to post corrections, we need to be totally fair. If that was your lead-in story, if this was your top of the news segment type of thing, you should totally broadcast it. Your corrections, that is, at the beginning of the same show. Why? Because the truth is important. Because if we're not informing people of the truth, what are we informing them of? That's the big thing a lot of folks have. It's people hear things, they get information. At times, information is wrong. When the information is wrong, I mean, an adult would admit that they're wrong. Somehow that kind of rhymed. I totally don't do that all the time. I like cheap, cheesy little mimetics here. And why is this so important? Well, because we need the truth. And people also need to know that if you screw up, you're willing to admit you're wrong. It's not like there are a whole bunch of folks out there telling people, never admit you're wrong, never say you're sorry. Because if that was the case, that might explain a lot of where we are at this point. So, for a quick little interlude. Number 2, a monetizing tragedy tax. This is something that I've noticed on this internet stuff and things before. They always have the saying that if it bleeds, it leads. Well, unfortunately, that seems to be true. I've heard folks criticizing this for a long time. And then what do we see? Well, we see a lot of these same folks basically leading with tragedy. Basically, individuals happen to be making money, at times very good money, covering some of the most horrific events in our society, in our world. My proposal would be a 25 to 50% tax on all the revenue generated, whether it's ads, whether it's people sending in money while covering said tragedy, to go directly to those affected by the tragedy. Now, this would have 2 effects. Number 1, you're helping out people that have been hurt. And if people are getting helped out when they're hurt, because you'll very often see this with a GoFundMe, something like that, any type of crowdsourcing technology to help folks. My thing is, well, if individuals are making money off of tragedy about horrible things that have happened to other people, well, why don't we help folks out? The second thing that this does is, oh, wait a second. I may not necessarily maximize my revenue, potentially a return on investment, by covering bad news all the time. It's almost like maybe we're nudging folks to cover some better things in the world, because everything isn't always crashing down around us, even though I love the Real American song. But if we could actually focus on some of the other things in life, like some of these breakthroughs in science, in technology, in medicine, I don't know, maybe folks would not be quite as quote unquote black-pilled. Maybe we'd actually, as Michael Mouse may say, maybe I'll pop a few little white pills. I am not a doctor. Speak to your doctor before popping any types of pills. A quick shout out to my patrons, Dave M. and Joe Franco. This broadcast is helped made possible by viewers like you. Now, as far as another interlude. 낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자, 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자. I like that song. Now, number 3, the relegalization of the dueling process. Because in these United States of America, historically, dueling has been legal. We actually had one of our founding fathers, Andrew Jackson. He died after the injuries he sustained in a duel. Why do I say this? Because whether it's up, down, left, right, or center, I've heard individuals calling for violence, or at least wanting to see violence done upon those that they highly disagree with. Now, is this everybody? Totally not. I happen to believe that most folks are good people, but if we're getting all caught up within these different groups, these different tribes, these different cliques, these different communities, what I say is if there are individuals that are initiating not so nice things, we should re-legalize the process. Because what historically was it done for? Somebody would be grossly offended. Perhaps there would be a periodical that wrote a potentially slanderous, a libelous, if you would, article about certain individuals. Those individuals could reach out to those that did this particular deed, and they could ask for an apology. And at times, apologies were given. Because if one happens to screw up, we should be adults and owe up to it. But if we're going to act like a children, but we happen to be adults, I say, let consenting adults full of hate engage in mortal combat. Why is this important? Because if we start seeing hashtags such as civil war going around, what does that mean? It means we're engaging the populace. The vast majority of folks will be directly affected. And if we're getting folks affected, many of these individuals happen to have children, to have families. Do they always like what they see that's going on? No, but they carry on with their lives. Why? Because we're Americans. When times get tough, we get tougher. We level up. We overcome. That is the story of humanity. And if we're just going to have a couple of a-holes here and there be stirring the pot, trying to get other people to engage in widespread combat in order for them to have fun, in order for them to potentially, I don't know, seize power, move up on the ladder because they were strong proponents for their side. Well, if these consenting adults have so much hatred in their hearts, if they happen to be so offended about things, then I say we give them the opportunity to engage in one-on-one mortal combat, because this will give skin in the game. If all of a sudden somebody challenges you to a duel, well, now at that point, you got to put up or shut up. And you know what? You don't even got to shut up. It's consent. You need not acknowledge that. You need not accept it. However, at that point, if not saying that this would be the case, if there happen to be certain individuals on this internet stuffing things that, I don't know, maybe we're engaging in idolatry with this particular individual. If they think that this person is going to basically lead them to the promised land or something, at that point, oh, well, are they acting, I don't know, kind of yellow, if you would? I don't know. This is coming from a dude that wears a yellow shirt all the time. But I digress. At this point, it takes away from the of invincibility. And you know what? People can still do what they want. However, at that point, there'll be a little chink in the armor, if they would. They'll show that, well, they're not necessarily willing to put their skin on the line. And that takes away from a certain level of social gravitas. And you know what? If someone's going to go around and blatantly abuse it, yeah, we catch on to that. People realize if you're just blatantly going around stirring the pot, because, well, this always happens. I tend to believe it would lead to a bit more of a polite society, if you would. And we can help make these United States of America honorable again. So, that's all I got for now. I just figured we'd put this out there and give folks a little something to think about. So, peace out, everybody. Be safe, and may God bless.